In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Actually, we are going to talk about issues in parameter setting, page 209, but actually the discussion appears to be on page 210 as the picture here shows. I actually begin with page 210, the new paragraph, which is on line at, let's say, 6. Okay, page 210. Well, it says the classical GB theory of the 1980s used Prodrop parameter as the test case for the acquisition of principles and parameters. Okay, you remember the discussion of Prodrop, languages that can have pronoun at the beginning of the sentences, or the languages that cannot have the pronouns. Remember, there's something like this sentence 46 and 7 in I suppose the language is Italian. Okay, so in Italian we can say andato a scuola, which means he went to school or she went to school without he or she in the sentence. So sentence 46 is something like went to school without he or she at the beginning. Well, in Italian, sentence 46 is good, but in English, the same words is wrong. What is good in Italian? In Italian, we can omit he or she from the beginning of the sentence. Well, in 47, we cannot omit he or she from the beginning of the sentence. So 47 in English is wrong, and we have to say she went to school or he went to school. Well, actually, I had the translations first for my Farsi, but I didn't have something like an eraser, so I added Arabic, in fact, examples below it. So 46 is something like ذهبت إلى المدرسة or ذهب إلى المدرسة أو ذهبت إلى المدرسة. Okay, it's good in Arabic. Okay, the same is like 47. Okay, I want to say something like this. So ذهبت or ذهب إلى المدرسة is right in Arabic, but not right in English, languages like English. So why we say that Arabic, you remember, is a Prodrop language, meaning that it is possible to, in fact, forget about huwa or hiya or anta or anti, okay, from the beginning of the sentence. Okay, but in English it is not possible. Okay, so something like, it's called a Prodrop parameter. Prodrop parameter is like this, that a language like Arabic and Farsi is Arabic and Farsi is something like Prodrop, but English is not Prodrop. I've actually Farsi examples here. Raft madrase means he or she went to school. In Farsi, we do not have the difference between he or she, okay? So we say او رفت مدرسه, okay, or we can say رفت مدرسه without u or un, okay? U is formal and un is informal, okay? U and un both mean he or she in Arabic, okay? In English. Anyway, well, we want to say we don't know the child. How is the child like? Is it like Arabic and Farsi speakers? Or is the child like an English speakers? Or the child is in a neutral position? It could be something like Well, Prodrop like Arabic and Farsi, or non-Prodrop like, in fact, English. Well, if we actually continue to go to, in fact, 4 lines to the bottom of the page 210, you see there are 3 logical possibilities for parameters in initial state distinguished in GB theory. Well, how is it the child like? Initially, is the child initially like Arabic, or is the child like English, or is the child like something like neutral, neither like English nor like Arabic? Let us see. Going to the next page, this says that the first possibility is that the child is on the neutral setting, as you see on figure 5.3. So, neutral setting. Neutral, what does it mean? مخنث, خنثى, okay? Well, neutral, it could be a prodrop or it could be no prodrop. So the child is like this, that is something like a neutral setting. It could be later on when he actually develops his language, comes to the conclusion that his language is prodrop or non-prodrop. There are 2 possibilities on page 201, 211, 5.3, figure 5.3. This is one possibility, the neutral setting, okay? If you go to figure 5.4, you see a language like English, which is non-prodrop, is the possibility that the child is born with. So the child is born with a non-prodrop setting. If the child develops Arabic or Farsi or Italian on page 210, he or she has to turn the non-prodrop position to the prodrop position, okay, like this. Or, so the third possibility is figure 5.5. Well, the third possibility is that, well, languages like Arabic, languages like Farsi, well, the languages are like this, that the child is like this, that is, that he or she is born like without pronoun at the beginning of the sentence, like Arabic, like Farsi, okay? But if the language happens to be non-prodrop, meaning that there is no, in fact, he or she at the beginning of the sentence, there must be a he or she at the beginning of the sentence, so the child develops later on to be to change the setting to the prodrop's position. So there are 3 possibilities. One is neutral, like this. The child has got the 2 possibilities. If he comes to the conclusion that the language then he is exposed to is a prodrop, he shifts to prodrop. Or if he finds that the language is non-prodrop, he actually develops to be like that. This is one possibility. Possibility 2 is that the children actually are like figure 5.4 with non-prodrop setting, meaning that, well, a language like English, not Arabic, is the only possibility for them. Later they develop to be different, if their language is like that. Figure 5.3, 5.5 says that, the prodrop is the original position of the child, but if there is a language that is like a non-prodrop, the child actually changes the position of prodrop to the setting of, or the position of, or setting of non-prodrop. Okay? Well, which one do you think is the possibility? Language like English, language like Arabic, or the two neutral positions? Which one? Maybe you say the first one is the best possibility, figure 5.3, with two possibilities. Well, in order to answer these things, actually applied linguists like the writer of this book actually came to the conclusion that no, the child is not like the neutral position. No, the child is not either like an English language. Okay, how is it? A language like Farsi and English came out of the investigations into the child language development. They came to the conclusion that Arabic, okay, the system used in Arabic and Farsi, where the language is, the setting is, the prodrop is the possibility for the child. Let us go to have a look at the examples that we say. Okay, maybe I'm going to explain it on a later, in fact, I'm going to, in fact, say that if you actually go to page 212, line 1, 2, 3, below page 51, you come to the conclusion that Hyams concluded that this, in fact, investigation was done by Hyams. Hyams concluded that the third alternative is correct for prodrop, line 3, okay, page 212, line 3, after 51, okay. Children start from the setting that allows null subject sentences. Null subject sentences means that there is no subject at the beginning of the sentence, like Arabic, okay, like prodrop language, okay. Null subject sentences, whether they are learning English, German, or Spanish. Well, these languages are, in fact, English and German are non-prodrop. Spanish is a prodrop language. English and German children go on to learn that their languages are non-prodrop, setting the switch away from the initial value. But if they are actually Spanish speakers, children can stick with their original setting, like Arabic, okay? So there are examples like 52, 53, and 54 in languages which is like non-prodrop languages, okay? A language which is non-prodrop actually has got something like it is raining, okay? It is raining, okay? Where it appears at the beginning of the sentence to say, well, you have to have a subject at the beginning of the sentence, okay? In Arabic, we can say إنها تمطر, okay, تمطر, okay? Well, it actually appears, I suppose, on the next page, on page 214, which I'm going to come to it later. But, well, a language like Farsi is, or Arabic is like 53. See, there's one word without innaha, without something like it, okay, at the beginning. And English is like 54, where there's something like there at the beginning of the sentence. Languages that have something like with our null subject languages actually have these elements. Non-prodrop languages are like these elements, like innaha in Arabic. Of course, Arabic is a prodrop language, but something like innaha, appears to be something that appears in these sentences only and only to put something at the beginning of the sentence, to put in the subject position of the sentence. I'm going to continue with my, in fact, concluding remarks on the next presentation, because I think that it is going to be too long.